JP, thank you. Hey everybody, for those who I haven't had the privilege to meet, my name is Matt Ham. Kevin Adams is with me. We are the co-founders of YouPrint, a faith and personal development organization, and it's always a privilege to be here with you guys. This is super special, super cool, just to see what God's doing, you know, not only here in this room, but also in this organization and in the city as well. And so it's just super fun. But we have a heart at YouPrint to kind of gather people who want to make an impact in the world through social entrepreneurship, just awareness, what we call kingdom living. And today we're joined by this man here, Alan Rippy, and he's super excited. He loves this, by the way. I am so grateful that he joined us. But no, we've got to say at YouPrint that if God's not writing your story, it's written in disappearing ink. Think about that for a minute. If God's not writing your story, it's written in disappearing ink. And that just means that every single one of us has this opportunity to impact the culture and the world around us. And Alan is an example of that. And one of the reasons why we do this is to help up-and-coming leaders like you guys, you know, kind of carry this torch and this mission, out into the community. And that's really the heart of YouPrint. That's why we do what we do. We call ourselves the church between Sundays to kind of bridge that gap between Sundays, bridge that gap between faith and business. And it's about benefiting kind of the current and future citizens of this area. So Alan is an example of what faith and business lived out actually looks like. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about that. And kind of the theme of today, each one of you has a theme. The theme of today is faith and legacy lived out in the moment. And so that's kind of the context around this. But I originally met Alan because I went to school with his daughters. I was sandwiched between Ren and Katie at New Hanover High School. And, you know, they just had this great reputation. Just the family had this great reputation. And then you're driving around Wilmington and you see Rippy Cadillac. Rippy Cadillac for more than 70 years here in Wilmington, kind of that name. But then as I grew into kind of an adult, if you will, graduated from college, I started going to various functions, and you would see sponsored by Rippy Cadillac, or, you know, Rippy Cadillac's helping here. And I just remember one day specifically, Alan, I'm at Starbucks Coffee. It's 5:30 a.m. And you say, "Hey, old boy, come over here. How you doing?" You know? And it just sparks up a conversation. And from there, just a friendship grew. I've had the privilege to sit with you in your office, be at your home as you invite and invest in so many people. So guys, this is Alan Rippy, and we're privileged and a treasure. So y'all join me in welcoming him today.
Let me say something real quick. It won't take you about 15 seconds for y'all to understand that this is not what I do very often. And I'm going to go back to JP a second. The real reason you know the name Rippy is because we've been here so long and we have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars for y'all to know our name and advertising. So that's a big piece of this whole puzzle, and I want y'all to know that. So anyway, I'll leave that there.
So Alan is a surfer. And one of the things that we say at YouPrint is this idea, think about this for a minute. Every wave, right, begins as a ripple. But the wave has to peak before it can kind of impact the world around it. And so the ripple idea is the why, Alan. And then the peaking and the crashing of the wave is this idea of legacy. So along those lines, I want you to tap into and talk a little bit about your why.
These questions, I wish y'all could have all gotten them last night. They're not easy questions for me, because I don't tend to go extremely deep with my faith, which is probably not a good thing, but I do try to live it out daily. But I learned at a young age that I really cared about people. I was very interested in what made people tick, and I cared about ones that weren't doing as well as others, and I just sort of had a heart. That's the way what God gave me, a heart for folks that were sort of the underdogs. And so I just sort of made it my business to try to lift people's spirits. and care about them and find out about them. And I was talking with Matt and Kevin the other day, and I said, my wife thinks I'm crazy, but years ago we were at the airport, and I said, man, Jody, I wish everybody had to wear a sign around their neck. And it said, my name is so-and-so, I'm from such and such, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, it's not because I'm nosy, but if you see somebody hurting, it would be nice to be able to go up and call them by their first name, right? And these are the kind of things, I guess, are my why. And now I'm almost 67 years old, and it's sort of where I've ended up, I guess, where God has put me.
I think it's beautiful to me because, Alan, that why, that thing of valuing people and genuinely desiring to invest in them has subsequently created this legacy, And as you think about kind of your own legacy, as you look at it now, you're 66, we talked about that. What does that look like for you today, in kind of that direction that it's headed?
Say that one more time.
In regards to your legacy,
My legacy.
as you kind of look at it and reflect on it and kind of where you're headed in these next few years.
Well, Michael DeRosco here is one of my son-in-laws, one of the pilots over here. And of course he has three children, and then we're blessed enough that we have 8 grandchildren here, and they all live really close to all of us, and it's pretty much my life now, my wife's life. And so the legacy becomes much more important when you've got all these eyes looking and all these ears listening. And not only these 8 grandchildren, but you got Michael paying attention and all the others. So all of a sudden there were 5 of us forever, my wife and our 3 children, 2 daughters and a son, Alan. And now there are 14 of us. And so the legacy becomes very, very important. I don't know if I'm answering your question here, but you just got to get it right, or try to get it right. And that's why you've got to put Christ in the mix day by day, minute by minute, decision by decision. So
yeah, I think it's just it's so awesome to kind of see this rippling effect in your own life as it comes to this kind of peak moment now, with you and Jody and the grandkids. It's beautiful. But I know that it wasn't always that way. And one of the questions we asked Chip is, what did the 20-year-old Chip Mahan look like? And so I want to ask you the same question: is what did the 20-something Alan Rippy, look like in that regard?
Well, pretty self-centered and all about myself and Jody. We got married right out of college and not paying attention to our faith like we should. And then, of course, as so many good women do, and I fully believe behind every good man there's a better woman. And so my wife Jody, she stayed the course and got really serious with the BSF, Bible Study Fellowship, as soon as our little Katie was about 18 months. And so I'm going 36 years ago, so I'm y'all's age now. I'm exactly y'all's age. I'm firing along, trying to make money, trying to get ahead and do this and that. And we had our 3 children. Just some of the things that got us to where we are is her faith, and she kept us serious and got me doing a little Sunday school teaching. And of course, I was very involved with the children always, which is critical. So you young folks, I don't know, some of you have children, some of you don't, some of you will, but whatever you can invest in your children as far as time away from home, it is just more important than anything you can imagine, and it will come back 1,000 times. And anyway, that's a critical piece. And then I'll make this quick, but then our girls got into young life, and I'm going back now 25 years ago, 20 years ago. That changed my life in a tremendous way. And I guess I can share a quick story, right? So quick story. My wife is an artist. Our 2 daughters have two young life leaders who are still now some of their very best friends, these two girls. And my wife had gone on a painting trip for 3 weeks. And so, of course, I'm in charge, which is great. Everything can kind of, we can do away with a lot of the rules. I go to dinner with our two daughters and their two young life leaders. These young life leaders are in college, daughters are in high school. And we went into Vito's down at Rice Beach to get a pizza. And we were sitting there. Now, we prayed at home with our family, but never prayed. Now, this is 25 years ago. Never prayed out in the open. And the first thing these two little college girls want to do is hold hands and pray in Vito's. I was unbelievably uncomfortable. It was like, wow, what's going on here? And then the conversation was about Jesus, and y'all, I hope y'all are following me. I'm starting to see where I need to be. This is the beginning of me getting serious about my faith. And so I'm watching these girls, and they're talking about Jesus. It was a wonderful conversation. Here's the point that tripped me up. So my wife gets back, and I said, oh, Jody, had a wonderful dinner, met these girls. I said, but oof, they are going to break our girls' hearts. I am just as sure as anything. They left us and went straight over to the bars and probably started drinking, and they aren't real. I know they're not real. Well, they were real. And to this day, they're real. And that probably right there started me on a most interesting path. So there are a lot of other things have happened. I don't know if we'll get into some of that or not.
So one of the questions we have here, and one of the kind of mindsets that YouPrint is that tragedy, right? We see tragedy every day, disappointment, and if we look at it as a tragedy, that's unfortunate. But every tragedy is actually a trajectory to take us where God hopes us to go. Okay. So in your own life, Alan, what tragedy would you say is shaped a trajectory for you in this kind of development process?
Well, let's see here. So I start. You got a picture of where I was starting to really pay attention to how important having the right faith and developing that personal relationship with Christ was. And so now I'm going to fast forward to 2006, 2007. You youngsters probably you can't remember this, but anyway, things were sizzling. Everything was just going wide open here. And then 2008, September 2008, is when the bottom fell out. So now it's almost been 10 years, and the Great Recession hit us. And so financial troubles, as we all know, can just ruin your soul, can ruin your faith, and if you're not careful, it can just have some devastating consequences, which I'm getting ready to tell you about. So, we are car dealers. We were with General Motors. General Motors is getting ready to go bankrupt. Okay? That can't happen, but they are. I'm on a local bank board. They've been here 100 years. It's going under. It went under. So, financially, my whole world was crumbling down. And that's when I realized that you got to have that faith. You got to realize that it's not all about you. It's not all about what you have. You've got to be able to give it up. Okay, God, your will, not mine. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. Take our business, take our house, whatever. But you have to really, really be willing to do that. Well, I wasn't able to do that until on February 8th, 2010. Okay? World collapsed in 08. We did not lose our business. We did not lose our business. We had Hummer franchise, we had a Saturn franchise, we had a number of franchises, and they all went away. And so we were just left with Cadillac. Should be out of business now. I promise you we should be. But we're still in business. And so, anyway, 2008 comes. Oh, and the bank went under, and I personally had a $32 million lawsuit against me. Wow, okay. what Dave Luck and I have been friends, and we got to be friends during that time, and he was very important to me personally. So here we are trying to figure out, all right, what is this going to look like? Well, this is the unbelievable piece. So on February 8, 2010, one of my very best friends, Byron Stratus, kills himself at 10 o'clock in the morning. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my brother kills himself. Same day, same time. Now that's when you really start questioning what's going on in your life. And y'all, I have to tell you, thank the Lord with these steps I had taken, which started back here and started back here. I was able to feel like, and this is the truth, that I was on the shoulders of Christ. And he just marched me, kept marching. True story. And then the beauty that came out of all this is that we did give everything up. It's yours. We'll figure it out. It's all right if it all goes away. And guess what happened? Our grandchildren started coming. And we had a little grandboy, and then Michael's little girl Maggie, and then boom, boom, boom. All these 8 grandchildren came, and they saved my life. And we've come out of the end of this whole deal. Thanks be to God. And it's really, really incredibly special. And one of the most important things is, we don't deserve the life we have. You can't earn it. But God gives it to us by His grace. And I don't know how many of y'all know Michael or Ren or any of these children that I have and these grandchildren, but I'm going to say it, and I'm so proud of it. They're a beautiful bunch, and they love the Lord, and it's just so special. And I finally learned to not feel guilty about it, like, oof, why isn't it up so good for me? No, not now. I don't know why. I don't deserve it. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Very important. Very important. All right. That got me a little platinum gold.
For the guy who doesn't go deep, right?
Well, I care about you young folks. And anyway,
that's wonderful, man. Thank you for your
right.
vulnerability and willingness to share. It's just so powerful to see how, when we're truly willing to relinquish our desire for control,
It's everything.
It's this humble willingness that God has more than we ever thought. It's just beautiful. So thank you for that.
And one quick little side note here. Some of the most unhappy people I've ever seen in my life are the ones that are self-centered. And generosity, when you have it or you don't have it or whatever, but Lord knows, you want to see the saddest people in the world, just look for those who are all about themselves. Because y'all, it ain't about us. And particularly if you're married or getting married or have children, it really isn't about us. All right.
That leads into this next thought, Alan, about what impresses you. And you tapped into this just there. But let's expand on that a little bit. What impresses you?
Well, to sort of sum that up, I guess in a pretty easy way, is someone who has everything and who is extremely successful, material-wise, every-wise, but is extremely humble and takes the time to get to know people and genuinely get to know them. And no one to a person like this is invisible. And Chip is a great friend of mine, and I will say that y'all's leader is one of these people who I really see that way. But it's so important that people are not invisible, because everybody has a story and everybody loves to make eye contact, and if you know their name, speak their name, boy, that's super important. And then the other side of that is the person that has nothing, the person that's that was born with a real deformity or cripple, and maybe we'll get into the Biddy and Bo's piece in a minute, but those folks who I've gotten to know so well, particularly one little gal named Jessie, who has cerebral palsy. Some of y'all may know her, but she was born in a way where so many people could just crawl up in a corner and just say, "Why me? It's over. I'm done," and just whine. This little gal lifts everybody's spirits every single day, has the greatest smile, never down. So these are the two type people who I just have great respect for.
So, you said a minute ago, you stopped apologizing for kind of where your life was. Stopped feeling bad, stopped wearing that on your shoulders, and started just giving credit where credit was due, right? So with that in mind, with the fact that God is the giver of all good things, what's Alan Rippy's greatness?
Oh, well, I don't have any greatnesses. God has given me a few gifts. And one is that genuinely caring about people, wanting to know about them, lift their spirits. Had a lady in my life when I was very young who would tell me every day, "Alan, you be a blessing to somebody every day. Every day, little boy, you be a blessing." And that kind of thing maybe sunk in. So, and I also I've been given the ability to make a lot of connections just because of being here a long time. And so I'm able to put certain people together. And my dad started our business, and he was very honorable, very honest, and I'm thankful that we've carried that image of integrity on. And so fortunately, when you get to be an old guy like me, and you've had all this good upbringing, some people will listen to you, and it's pretty cool. Wait a minute, validate things, that's it. You're old enough where you can start stamping and putting that validation on. It's not gray anymore. Bam, this is the truth. This is real.
So this question is kind of a twofold question. So the importance of a long-term vision coupled with the importance of living each moment well. So speak to both of those, this idea of having a long-term vision for your life, but at the same time, that kind of legacy piece, right? But then to the point of living each moment well.
Well, the long-term vision, which I'm sure y'all all understand this, we all certainly hope that we're going to heaven, and so that our life on this world will not end. But all along the way are all these moments. And I learned early on, wherever you are, be there. Now, a lot of times I was with my family, and they thought I was there, but boy, my mind was, I was somewhere else. All the problems that we all have, and I know y'all experience this all the time. So to try to just focus on the moment and not live in the future, not live in the past, it's just critical. And of course, I'm not telling you anything that y'all all don't know, but that right there can change your life. And I assure you, the only place that you will develop that relationship with Jesus Christ is in the moment. In the moment. And it will not be in the future, and it will not be in the past.
Alan said before, he's like, man, I'm not very deep with this stuff, I'm very simple. But he actually just indirectly quoted C.S. Lewis, what I mean? So Alan, you're getting this, brother. I just want to make sure that you're well. Alan's quoting C.S. Lewis up here,
You never will learn one thing when you're running your mouth. Not one thing. And that's just very, very important. So you want to listen. You want to listen.
You trying to hurt my feelings?
No,
that's all I do, man.
Well, you're pretty good listener.
I'm just kidding, man. Just kidding. So Alan, when you talk about all this stuff, you talk about faith, living in the moment, legacy, your story, tragedy, trajectory, all this kind of stuff. Life has a way of just boom, 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 busy, fast-paced, demands, responsibilities. How do you recharge kind of in the midst of all of that?
Well, I still do it, but I don't get to surf as much as I'd like to. But it would be a recharge with Michael going surfing at daybreak. I still do quite a bit of it. But the morning time to me is where I recharge. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh yeah, I have my quiet time and I read my Bible for 45 minutes. And I'm not that good at that. But I am good at getting up. I'll get my old surf truck. I'll ride around the beach. I'll look at the sunrise. I've seen a million sunrises. And that's the time where you can just thank God for all your blessings and so forth. And then the other place that now I can sort of rejuvenate is with my grandchildren. I get lost with my grandchildren. I mean, just lost. And it's precious.
I had this thought the other day. We share that commonality. I love watching the sunrise, and in the midst of life, it gets busy and things don't go the way you want it to. But a refreshing thought the other day was that God's batting 1,000 on sunrises right now.
Yes, sir.
It's there, and those are ways that we can experience Him. I think just in those moments, right, of pausing, that gratitude, and letting that sit in. And so that's so powerful. So as we kind of move on here, Alan. You and I have this in common. We're both Wilmington natives, which is cool. I don't know what that makeup is in the room here, but I think there's some. At the same time, we love the city. God's bringing a lot of people to this city. So what would you like to see transpire here in this city, in this community which you call home?
That's a tough one right there. That's a good one. I think something that has frustrated me for a long time, and first of all, let me say this. I'm at a point in life now, and the sooner y'all can get there, maybe y'all are all there, but you never want to judge anybody or anything, okay? If you just, that's so wrong, and they're doing it so wrong, or that's, whatever, that you can feel sorry for them and feel sad for them, but no judgment. So I feel sad and sorry for a lot of situations in our world now. But I think the traditional church has really disturbed me my entire life, and I guess my dad started me down that road. I remember being a little boy, he told me about all the hypocrites, the ones that were the elders and the deacons, and they were doing this and doing that. Y'all have heard this stuff. He said, but I know what they really do. I know what they did. And da, 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 da. Well, that really turned my dad off, and maybe that's how it kind of all started. But I have gravitated to so many non-denominational churches, and through surfing and whatever, I've connected with a lot of young people, and I long for the church community of Wilmington to get together and be one force, which I just so believe that that's what Christ wants. And this is a big subject, but that's what I long for.
So, YouPrint, that's our heart, is to begin integrating these sandboxes, if you will. Kind of this picture of everybody has their own little sandbox, and brothers and sisters are playing in different sandboxes, and we're one body, right? So a big gap that exists, we talk about it all the time, is the gap between faith and business. We've built walls where God tore them down, and faith stays over here inside this box, and then business stays over here inside this box. And you've made some steps in your own life to kind of start to bridge those gaps and whatnot. But what do you what do you believe? What role does that play? The faith in business thing. How is that part of that whole thing?
Well, it's tremendous if you can if you could accomplish it, and I'm not going to say that I did a good job with that for the first 35 years of my career. I left faith over here and career here. So to see Live Oak having a function like this quarterly or whatever it is, it's just powerful. And you youngsters, y'all are setting an example for the rest of the community. I mean, the community is paying attention to Live Oak Bank, paying attention to Encino. And y'all are really changing the playing field. You're changing the game in Wilmington. And I'm just so proud. I'm so proud of JP and Chip and Neil and everybody that's put this together. But y'all are going to have an incredible impact in the next 30, 40 years in changing what Wilmington's all about.
Alan wouldn't talk about this, but I'm going to make him talk about it. If you're familiar with Biddy and Bo's coffee, Biddy and Bo's is native to Wilmington here, and the Wright family had 2 children with Down syndrome, and they had a picture of starting a coffee shop that would employ kids with special needs. And they were in a small building on Wrightsville Avenue, and how long is it, a year and a half ago now?
Been in our Hummer showroom for 2 years.
2 years now.
2 years now.
So they've been recognized across the country, CNN heroes and so forth. And Alan is kind of the quiet guy behind the scenes of all this. They're sitting in his old Hummer dealership. Alan, talk about that and what role that's played and kind of the blessing that you've received because of it.
Well, it really is it's been a tremendous tremendously rewarding event happening, and it's all God in our family. And I'll say that Amy Wright is going to be y'all's guest speaker at All Hands on Deck in August, I believe. So I don't know if any of y'all have heard her, but she's the real deal. She's the real power behind it and whatnot. God just happened to see that there was an old Hummer building with an old guy in it who had his office, and it was just turn it into a daggum junk pile. Everybody putting old beds and everything else in there. It was the saddest place I've ever been in my life. But my office was in there because when it was a Hummer, I would literally walk in a door like right there on the side and not even look out, and then just get into my office as quick as I could. But anyway, I'll make this real quick, but it is a great story. So Mike Ashcraft, pastor at PC3, I'm sure some of y'all know him. He and I were doing a stand-up paddle in January, several years ago, and he was telling me about, I would always ask him, he was so busy, I said, what's the most exciting thing going on in your life now, Mike? Well, he started talking, and by the time we got all the way out to the waterway, and he was still talking about this Biddy and Bo's deal, and how powerful it was, and then he made a comment, he said, and Alan, you know what? They're out of room. The first day they opened up, they had people standing out in the line. And this is when God comes into your life. If you're paying attention, you got to be listening. And it was just like this. I stopped and I looked at Mike and said, Mike, what'd you say? Out of room. They need to move into the Hummer building. They need to move into my office. And he said, are you serious? And then the next day, they were sitting in my son Alan's office, who runs the dealership, and the rest is history. And so there they are, and it's just become a part of our whole team. Our team accepted their team. How many of y'all have been to Biddy and Bo's? Yeah, okay. So y'all know who we're talking. Y'all know what the Biddy and Bo's team is. It's about the most special place in the world, right? The happiest people. And I'll make this quick, but for the first time in my life, and this is what it does for everybody. This is why this is a movement. For my whole life, up until this, I hurt for people who had disabilities. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to talk to them. So the easiest thing for me to do, and I'll assume it's that way for a lot of us, is they're invisible. I don't see them. And so what Amy Wright's vision had was to force me to look at these people. And the rest is history, as y'all know. So anyway, that's sort of a quick story of Biddy and Bows. But boy, it's the real story.
Yeah. I think one of the things you want to grab from this, guys, is, so Alan, being a surfer, anybody that surfs, just a kind of a quick analogy here, a quick metaphor for you guys to grab hold of. You can sit out in the water on your board, and you can kind of focus on what's not happening. Like, waves no good today, nothing's going on. Or you can choose to sit out on your board and focus on what God is doing and say, man, it's beautiful out here. This is great. And then all of a sudden when you see a wave move, right, God move, paddle into it, right? So trying to create this analogy in your life of enjoying the moment, but then responding when you see God moving. How does that speak to you, kind of the way you live now as you continue to mature in your faith?
Well, and again, I keep referring to Michael here, but I would hope that I've become a very positive force in our family's life, our children, always looking, and again, I'm not telling y'all anything you don't know. You've heard all these kind of talks, but you gotta look for the good. You just have to look for the good in everything. There's plenty of bad out there, but there's so much good everywhere. So I really work hard at that, and then the piece about lifting people's spirits is just such an important piece of God's puzzle. I think it's just a mission that He lays out for us, that you're supposed to do this. And so I would say that just being someone who's I talk about God to the grandchildren a lot. We talk about the clouds, we talk about the waves, we talk about the beautiful water, and just try to keep it moving in that direction, and it really becomes pretty easy. Yeah, it really does.
Kind of in closing up with this is, again, when we're walking with people, mentoring people in our community, we're feeding them and the whole narrative that goes on there. Uncovering your why is a big part of what we do. But at the same time, we encourage people to understand that we get hung up on the how. Like, I know my why, but how's this all going to play out? And Alan, man, you're such a veteran in this. You have this spirit about you, this gentleness and this peace of like, you know who you are, you know why, and you just let God be the how. What is that like, kind of for you on a daily basis?
Did y'all understand that question? Would you mind answering that? Good gosh. What do you think, Michael? How about you handle that for me, I don't. You're gonna have to make that a little simpler for me.
So
the how and the why. I just kind of told you how, where, why.
You know who you are. You know why.
Okay.
But every day you don't wake up and say, "How am I going to figure this out?" Right? I would assume that that's not the case.
Right.
You just be. Talk about how you step into each day with that kind of mindset. Because I think a lot of people wake up, I got to do today. I got to figure this out. I got to go.
I think I pretty much answered it there. And a critical piece of that puzzle, I think, is not planning your life out. My business model is to try to be as flexible as possible. And if you can create flexibility in your life where you can not get too wrapped up in this work, I got to be here and I got to be here. And I know y'all are young and you got a lot of things that you got to do. But I think flexibility is a big piece of what I strive for every morning when I wake up and when I go to bed, to make sure that I'm not all jangled.
Yeah. So wrapping up, Alan, is there anything you want to leave anybody with today? Anything you want to kind of close your thoughts up with?
Well, again, when you're an old guy and you've been around, and I was talking about being able to put that validation sticker on things. There were a few things, and I wrote them down, and I learned put Christ in the decision process. All right, so I'm talking about every day, when you're at work, whatever. It's like if it's you and maybe a friend, or you and your wife or spouse or husband, put Christ right in the mix. So what do you think about this? What about this decision? What about buying this house or whatever? So that's a piece that if I wish I'd done that at a younger age, boy, I'd have made a lot better decisions. So y'all hang on to that one. Be humble. Be humble. None of us are anything really. I mean, we don't ever, anyway. Just be humble, and just remember, as I said earlier, that it's not about us. It's always about everybody else.